Hey, Slim, how you doing?
Man, I'm getting through. I'm here. I'm happy to be talking about some soccer.
I know we've been difficult to getting our schedules together. I'm an old man. I fall asleep early. You got youngins, and you've got to corral them, and you can't get on till late. So we finally got one worked out through here. Speaking of youngins, my daughter, she finally got her driver's permit. So she's out there wanting to drive, and so she's got her permit out through there. And I had commented uh, that now it really just makes me feel super old, like really old. And so she said, "But you are old." And the delay for playing the video was due to the fact that indeed I am old.
I was gonna ask you, have you looked in the mirror lately? Look at all the gray in your beard, man.
Well, I know I've got to get this cut, but it looks like a full moon has come out, and the wolf man
Yes.
is in full flourish.
Full wolf man. Embrace it. I love
Embrace it. I know. Well, it's and you would think it would be in the winter is when I want to grow it, and it's not in the summer when it gets warmer. So, oh, so we got the best of times and the worst of times. It's been a couple of weeks. We had missed. Actually, we only missed the one show in between. We were going to talk about the Knoxville match and then prep for North Carolina. But we're going to go ahead on this episode 3, and we're going to review the Knoxville match and maybe something after that. Let's maybe reference. And then we're going to go over the Lexington match this weekend. So finally, a couple weeks back, Knoxville came town, new side, kind of excited. They're close by. Less than 2 hours away, more like an hour and a half, hour and 15 if Slim is driving. And so my short summary of this is we got the monkey off our back. And how'd you feel? What was your short take on that?
The game went about how I expected, and yeah, the monkey's off our back. Felt good.
I'm not going to say it's been a frustrating year as a Red Wolves supporter. There's a lot of variables, a lot of pieces that are still waiting to come together. My wife was reminding me that we took a long time gelling our first year with our first coach, and in the second year.
Yep.
We talk about a blade of ball and all that passion and all that umph and so much firepower, but we didn't come out guns blazing. We were shooting a few blanks then too, so we kind of had to. But in the middle of it, it feels pretty frustrating. The first match, we felt like we had it was the draw against Northern Colorado that felt very winnable. That we felt like that just dropped. And then we fell in Birmingham. We hosted Birmingham and fell in the Open Cup. And I think probably one of the most frustrating things, I may have the time wrong, was Fuego, Central Valley Fuego, who on paper we should be dominating that game. And we were in it first half, second half, we just fell over and we gave it to them. And if you look at the standings right now, and if you look where each of the sides are in the standings, do you know where Central Valley Fuego is? The only team, one of the teams that beat us is, they're in 12th out of 12 places. They've had one
below us.
One below us. And actually, let me go ahead and bring this up. I could do this. We've got the technology. We have the power. We can rebuild him. Hold on.
Was that He-Man? I've got the power.
$6 million man. All right. So yeah. So you're gonna see right through here. Charlotte is tied. Is up top. North Carolina, we'll talk about unfortunately in a little bit, is second at 10 points, 10 points and 12 points. But at the very bottom here, at 5 games played, 1 win, 3 losses, and 1 draw is Central Valley Fuego. And just above them, it shows us, but this is misleading because we've only played 4 matches. So we actually should be tied. We should just be above Lexington because Lexington has played one more game, so they've had 3 more losses than us. They have us there. I don't know for what reason. We have the same goal differential. Maybe it's because of goals scored, but we really should be above them. So, yeah, we're not number 11. We're at least a 10.
Number 1 in my heart.
And then the one above them is the only team we've been able to beat, which is Knoxville, which is frustrating. So it's if you look at this, I don't think we'd expected it to start like this. I think with how it ended last year, we thought Tormenta would be higher than they are. And they had a slow start. They're starting to pick up pace. Richmond, who had an amazing season last year, they're mid-table or really only have 1 more point than us. And Greenville is starting to catch up, but they had a really slow start. But as you look at this, Michael, we've got only 4 points. But if 1 win, moving us to 7, that could move us as high as 4th. So, yeah. So it's pretty frustrating, but at the same time, I think we've got to kind of put that into perspective that there's just so much to play between now and then, and it's so easy to get despondent about what's in front of us. So going back to the Knoxville game, because I want happy memories, Michael. I want happy memories.
Got it.
Finally saw some goals that were scored by us, believe it or not. So yeah, when we had hosted that game, was the Knoxville game. Oh, there it is. And so yeah, it was a 2-1. Surprisingly, it looked like it was happening again. In the first half, there wasn't much going on. It was pretty tight. And then 5 minutes into the second half, I can't even pronounce this guy's name, Lilac had scored on the 50th minute. And it was pretty frustrating because it was a penalty. And it was a dumb penalty. And of course, he got it right in there. That's a gimme. So, but when teams are scoring against us first, we haven't been the best on recovering, except for that night, because it wasn't too much later. I think 10 minutes later, Andrew Paoli had gotten the goal in there. And then about 15 minutes later, Walter Varela had scored, and it was a beautiful assist by Riley Kraft. And by that game, we really grew into it. The first half, I don't think was as impressive, but the second half, we really pulled it together. It was quite impressive to see. We had, we had some of our players in there. Marsh who was in there. Malongo was in there. Madrid had his debut. And I think that's one of the key parts you and I talked about, really missing Daniel Navarro and some of the other center backs that we've had. And Michael Williams is still finding his footing. And a lot of times they've ended up having Nico Cardona being there as a center back. And to be honest, I think he's better as the right back. That's my take.
Agree 100%.
And when they're there, everything improves. You see the midfield is getting a chance to focus on moving forward. And I think we saw that in Knoxville, knowing that our back line was taken care of and our focus was there in our midfield, and we were able to get the goals in, which has been a struggle this year.
The back line's a unit. One guy being there and being stellar and awesome still leaves a huge part of the field as a weak point. So Madrid being out was a huge deficit, and you've got to have a whole unit and that backside working together in unison.
And it's gotten very apparent to me that he's the guy that Coach Ziggy was planning to be there the whole time, and he just couldn't get there at that time. And so my hot takes are, first of all, we welcomed Knoxville to the Smoky Mountain Smackdown. Wait, I got to do this properly. Because I was going to do this You were going to be there live, you and me.
Yes.
You won the SmackDown. You ready to talk about SmackDown? What'd you think of that SmackDown there, Michael?
It was incredible. I
Need
a mask. I feel exposed without a mask on.
Tell you, with that face, you can't cover it up. With mine,
thank you.
Probably going to cover the gray.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, they thought they would come to our place. Their fans, they came and they were not the nicest. Well, no. They're the ones that got the lesson. They may live closer to the Smoky Mountains, but we brought the smoke because we brought the heat, because the red comes from our fire that breathes out of the wolves.
Nice. Very inspirational. Maybe they should have you do a pregame talk, man.
That hurt my voice.
Hey, save that. You might need it for later.
I might need it for later, especially for chatting out there. My other hot take was, I think we took our frustrations out on the new kids because we were bent up. We had a couple of disappointments up until that, and several of them we weren't too far off. Even in the Open Cup, the first half of the Open Cup, it was we were able to frustrate Birmingham. Of course, it fell apart the second half, but that was the whole thing. It's like we showed it flashes. We showed flashes, but not enough to see it through. And finally, we saw the moment, and we showed like hungry wolves. What was your hot take?
My hot take is a more broad statement. This team is they're going to come together, and just like you said, we've seen flashes of what they're capable of. You know, we had 3 preseason games, and we've had 4 regular season games in the U.S. Open Hunt Cup. A large portion of those games, we haven't even had all of our staff there and ready. So 8 to 10 games into the season, I think we're going to start to see what we all want to see, and that's some W's and some goals being scored.
I just hope while it goes on that we don't dig ourselves into a hole. We're near the bottom, but there's others there with us. We've got company, so we've got to make sure that there isn't a distance between us and then our neighbors. And
we've got to win. We've got to win the winnable matches, like the Central Valley Fuego game. We've got to win those matches.
Yeah, and we should have won the match against Northern Colorado. I think we were the better team, but they took advantage of it, and so that happened. Now the next, we had a team that I don't think has ever beat us before, and if there was a team going into the season, you're going, oh, I can't wait to play North Carolina because we're their bogey side. In other words, we've got their number, and we just smack them around, and we make them do what we want. Well, I think we heard them one too many times, and in the off season, they cleaned out of a lot of our side, and they took DJ Benton, they took Tor, but probably the 2 big ones that they really took for us is Daniel Navarro and a certain guy named Rafa Menzigan. And did we feel that presence of them, especially those 2 on the pitch?
We absolutely did. It felt really weird watching them too, wearing the wrong color.
Yeah, they were on the wrong color, and you want them to do well. You just don't want them to do well in the game that they play us.
Yeah.
And my short summary is they had a plan, and we did not, and that's what it felt like. That it's that they were thinking about playing us in the whole off season and planning for this, and it was like the generals all playing together for the perfect way to take us down, and they executed it. And I think we were just kind of fiddling. There were some goals before actually, I have to say, in the first half, it wasn't at that far off. I think we were keeping pace with them, and we knew we were away, and we could tell this was a lot tougher team, but we weren't, didn't look like we were in the danger zone. We were able to stop a lot what was happening, even though we weren't creating much. But then just before the first half, 2 things happened. I think just before the stoppage time started, Anderson of their team had scored a goal. Of course, that takes a little bit out. But lo and behold, just before, right when stoppage time was ending, we got a penalty. We got a chance to kick a penalty. And Riley Kraft steps up, and what happens, Michael?
He kicked it just to the right hand of the goalie.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like to me.
It's like he thought he was in practice, and he's just trying to warm up the goalkeeper.
Yeah, you wanted to say great save by the goalie, but it really wasn't. It was just kind of going about his business, and it was pretty easy.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. Do you want to be too hard on Riley? Do I want to be a little hard on him, though? Yes. It wasn't. He didn't take the goal that we really needed, and we needed something more commanding, and we needed something that had. If you're going to step up and you're going to take the goal for the team, then you've got to back it up, and it didn't back up. That was part of it. So we're going into it feeling like we lost a goal. And, of course, we gave up a goal. So we gave up a goal, and we didn't take the goal they offered us. So coming in the second half, completely different. We were no longer keeping up with them. And they just ran over us. And one player in particular stood out, and I will say two. Both of them did. Because stopping us was something that Daniel Navarro was very efficient at. Yeah. And I gotta say, Holiday is a good goalkeeper. We first played him when he was 15 years old. And
he's only 17 now.
Yeah, he's only 17 now. But it's like one of his first games, and we gave him a really hard time. But we were amazed because we had like 20 shots on goal that game, and he saved most of them. But we got a few back in him. But he had an amazing amount of saves. So he's a good goalkeeper. But Rafa Mintz again was the one. He got a brace. He got 2 goals in. Let me see what the time codes were on those. First one came in at 57 minutes. Assist from Anderson, who was the one who scored the goal in the first half. And the second one, an assist by Garrett McLaughlin at the 66th minute. And it just seemed like when you're down 3-0, and it came pretty quickly. We went down from 1-0 thinking we're still in it, and 2 goals pretty quickly. All of a sudden, you're down 3-0. It's hard to scramble, and we didn't seem like we were organized in the back. Again, it felt like how we were playing at the beginning of the season, and it just felt like we were afraid to take chances, which is not a good strategy.
Well, I'll say that the speed of North Carolina bothered our backfield. There wasn't a whole lot we could do to handle that and contain it. And me personally, going down 1 goal in that situation, I was worried from that point forward, considering we haven't done a very good job of sticking the ball in the back of the net thus far. So and up to that point, chances created in that game were not that many. We didn't get that many shots on goal. Navarro, was locking us down, and it just kind of got away from us big time.
Yeah, there were a couple things missing. We still, I do know that Rupapa Mensah finally made his appearance. It was in the 80th minute, but couldn't really make much of an impact. I think he just wasn't quite ready. There's a lot expected from him, and there is going to be a lot expected for him. But I don't think he was. It was too little, too late. I think Mo tried to bring in a spark, but it didn't feel like he was connecting with everyone else. He was trying stuff, but he wasn't in sync. It felt like. And
he was playing with a team that the majority of which seemed deflated at that point. So he brought a huge spark off the bench, but his spark was much brighter than everybody else's.
So my hot takes are this: 1, we were soft in the back line, and I do want to comment. So the previous game, which we had won, I mentioned Manuel Madrid was a key component of that. He was missing that game, and then finding out later on the reason why is his mother passed away, and so he was gone for a family funeral. And so these games, they're important to us, but that's not the same as family. So he was where he needed to be. And I just want to send a shout out to Manuel and his family. And I'm glad he got to be there with his family in these very tough times. But he was sorely missed. And on the other end, they had who was in that key place, Daniel Navarro. The other thing was, again, as I mentioned, they planned for this match. And we're a different side. We're playing a little bit different, but those who are still there, Rafa knew very well, Daniel especially knew what to expect, and they were able to shut us down. Even though we were able to keep up with them a little bit in the first half, but I think they really focused and paid attention to what we were doing. And then the second half, they started the game with a game plan, but they adjusted to a very efficient game plan in the second half.
Yeah. They definitely had this date circled on their calendar with a big bright blue Sharpie marker. And I agree. They made some key adjustments at halftime, and we couldn't follow. So,
well, we had the best of times and the worst of times in 1 week, and highlight of the season so far, and definitely the low light of the season was the last match. But we move on. This Saturday, we're back at home, which, again, we've played a lot of home games this year. I think it's probably because we have our own stadium, and we can, decide when we're going to play, and we can host. And some others are waiting on other teams by a shared stadium, or there's some places that are still getting their stadium completed, which our hearts go out to you, because we know what it's like when you're waiting for your stadium to come together, and it's a little frustrating. Trust me, guys, it'll be worth it, especially if you're getting a soccer-specific stadium. I know when at the Birmingham game, I was talking to some of the executives from Birmingham, and they were checking out our stadium, and because they really need to build their own place in Birmingham, and they were impressed with what we've got. So hopefully these other places will have that. Lexington, what the good news about Lexington, outside of them also being another I-75 game, it's just a little further up the road, is there are no former Red Wolves there to haunt us.
Not one.
And as we mentioned already, in the standing, of course, standings don't mean anything this early out, but they've only got the one win, and it was actually not too long ago. It was against South Georgia Tormenta. So far, they started losing at Knoxville, and was it hosting Knoxville? And then they lost North Carolina, which we can see how that happened. They drew with Forward Madison. They won against Tormenta, and then they lost the last game against Greenville Triumph. And so some of those ones are kind of tough. Obviously, North Carolina is. Greenville's starting to come back. They probably wish they could have played Greenville at the beginning of the season when they were kind of struggling. Same with South Georgia Tormenta. Well, the interesting thing is they fell to Knoxville, and they're the only team that Knoxville was able to win. So is it the fact that the only team we've been able to win against was Knoxville, who is the only team that this team could this team lost to? So maybe that's I don't know.
Ball?
We're going to see how that works out there. I'll tell you, we talked about the Knoxville game being one that our frustrations were able to let out. Okay, guys, this is a time. Please let your frustrations out. I know if you feel bad about taking it out on the new kids, don't. They're professionals. Please take it out in Lexington.
Cool. So we've had games where, as fans and supporters, we're like, we need a W, and really what we were saying is we want a W. In this case, early in the season, like you and I were talking about, we can't afford to dig ourselves too big of a hole here. So this is a W that we should and need to take.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think it's about momentum, and when you start, ultimately, I really only get upset or frustrated when I see poor performance. It can be a little frustrating to get poor results, but that's different from poor performance, because I could see, even in our, if I see that we were close, we had fight into it, and either luck didn't go our way or something happened, I can live with that. But when I see that the team itself is playing really poorly, that bothers me, and it gives me more concern.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking for starting lineup for this Saturday?
I want to see what Ropapa has to offer, so I wouldn't mind seeing him start at the point. I mean, what can it hurt? We hadn't been able to stick a lot of goals in as of yet, so let's see what's going to happen there. I'd like to see Mo start. Mo's bringing an energy to the team that we need desperately. Bring that creativity. Have you? I don't know about Enriquez. I thought he's been injured. Am I on base with that?
I'm not 100%. How do I word this? Our team doesn't like to show its hand, so it doesn't always let us know what's available and who's on there. I did get the sense he was not available. Let me check and see.
He hasn't played or been on the bench the past 2 games that I know of.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him back in the starting lineup if he's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
And then, of course, hopefully Madrid is I know he's back at practice. So hopefully he's raring to go and in top form.
Yeah. What I'd like to see Aviles back in goal. And Horace Yaris needs to give us a little more confidence. I'd like to see Nico, and I'd like to see Lombardi on the wings, as wing backs or left and right back. Definitely want Madrid, and I still think Williams has got a little bit more to settle in, but I would pick him over Travis to finish that back line. If he's available, well, it's hard to pick who's going to be on the starters for this. I think Kraft might do better coming off the bench, and of course that's what happened in the game that we won, and I think he had a better impact with there. Paoli had a rough start, but he was catching his movement. I'd like to see him back in there. Leafe, I think, is good for leadership, and I think he played very well in the Knoxville game. Up front, if we can get him there, if Ropapa is healthy, I'd like to see him instead of Alex as our number 9. Yeah. And because I really think if we've got that, and I think you're going to be seeing some activity from Marsh, and I think you're going to be seeing Malongo, who's been kind of by default filling in that spot, and it's not his spot because no one else is there. So he's coming for the wing and trying to run into the middle. And I think if Ropapa is going to be a true 9, I think that's going to help these wing players play a whole lot better. Valera, I think, has certainly earned his start back in. Another one, I think, like Paoli had a little shaky start, and he started to show some of his merit. I still think if Ropapa is healthy, and as we expect him, still keep Mo off the bench, because you're going to need some spark. And so ideally, if you get Alex and Mo off of the bench with a late start, I think that could be good. Any changes you'd have?
No, I think a lot of our calls are pretty similar. So I don't disagree with you. I like the spark off the bench when you've got the other team with tired legs. Yeah. And you come out with some energy, and Riley and Mo are both really good at that. I just also want to see some spark at the beginning of the game too. It's always nice to come out and stick one in early, and then you're not playing so frantic the rest of the game. So I want to see one early.
Yeah, and you know what? I saw that with Knoxville, and then Knoxville realized we weren't pushovers, and I think when Lexington comes, and if we start off like we did with Knoxville, and we are running and we're pushing them, then we want them on the back foot, and that way we can already kind of win the game, if you will, in the first half psychologically. That would be ideal. Having said all that, We don't know the actual pieces the coach is going to have available with him on Saturday. And so I know Coach Zig is getting a lot of stick. And of course, he's the man in the hot chair, and he gets that. But I also recognize that he doesn't always get the hand he's dealt with that week. We're not always aware of everything that he's dealt with. So hopefully we're gonna find this, and he's gonna turn this around. One thing we haven't done because we haven't met for a little while was I don't know, maybe just something else that we've get a chance to have education and to learn a little bit there. Okay. And so we're going to talk about Michael Explains.
Oh, no.
That's right. It's Michael Explains. That's it. That's right. Michael, I want something to explain. I want you to explain to me in the most technical, very educated terms. And then I want the redneck version, because sometimes I'm a little slow. And Michael, could you explain to me what in the world is a handball?
A handball. Okay, Jeff. So a handball could be classified as when your hand makes contact with the ball in an unnatural position. Meaning if your arms are spread out like a bird, above your head, any position that is not the natural, which is basically not beside your side. So hand against the ball, that is the handball, Jeff.
There you go.
If you want the redneck terms.
Oh, I do. I do. All right, I want you to bring that down to us right now so you can make an understanding of that in my head.
I got you, buddy. So
right.
handball in redneck terms is when you take your beer grabber and you try to reach out like you're grabbing your Budweiser, and you just happen to grab a hold of the ball. Ref then blow whistle. That's a handball, Jeff.
That's a handball. So, do you think that our players understand what a handball is?
I'm not sure the refs understand what a handball is.
That's what I was getting to. You took away the shit. That was the build-up. And that's been happening quite frequently, where you're going like, do you understand the basic rules? Because we've had several clear handballs. There may have been one that we got away with, so maybe I'll be quiet about that. But hopefully our refs are going to get a chance. And as our teams prepare and as they look, well, we gather now to go onto our mystical journey as we look forward to playing Lexington. All right.
You're going all theater on me.
That's it. Well, I tell you what, we just lost both of our viewers that way. But or
six.
There we go. We could get. I'd rather roll a 20 rather than roll a 0. So there's our quest
right.
there. Another shout out to Corey and Norberto, who have started off their podcast now. They've been recording out and the Coach's Corner over at the Howl. And the very first game, got a chance to talk to Corey a little bit about what they've got coming up. And so they're already out. So get a chance and catch the Howl. Another way to get Red Wolves content. So it's not just us. We got some others going out through there. And we're going to try to keep coming out through this. Apologize for last week, but you know what? We don't get paid for this.
No.
We shouldn't get paid for this, but we don't get paid for this. We've got jobs, we got lives, and we're just trying to do the best we can with that. So are we going to hit every week? We'll try. We may not, but that's fine. We're going to pick up. So our passion for the Red Wolves continues on. Even if you don't physically see us, we are very passionate. We are two crazy passionate wolves. And so, all right. So onward, upward. We're hoping next week you're going to be seeing smiley faces rather than us gritting our teeth and gnashing of teeth and throwing ashes upon us.
Hopefully next week you don't feel like you've watched a scary movie.
Well, if it is, as long as it's a Wolfman movie. All right. This is Wolfman Jeff.
Slim Frady.
And this is Soccer in the South.